Hey guys, Geno Zero, how you doing? I hope all is well in YouTube land, whatever part of the world that you're in. Um, in this video, we're going to be talking about pressure canning. The last video was about water bath canning, but in this one we're going to be pressure canning. Pressure canning is something that you have to can like low acidic vegetables. I pressure can green beans, peas, any kind of soups that we make in bulk. And meats and so on and so forth, all needs to be pressure canned so that you can ensure that there is no bacteria or spores or any of that kind of stuff that's in there, the spoilers, quote unquote, that'll make your canning process go bad. And this is a way for you to store your meats and those other kind of vegetables and soups and so on for a good long time, several years on the shelves, stored properly and canned properly. We are going to be canning up chicken that we found on sale at the store. So it will be the same process as if you were canning beef or deer or rabbit or pork, any other kind of meat, vegetables such as green beans and so on and so forth. I've even seen people can up bacon and so on in their pressure canner. So first thing we're going to do is process this chicken. We're just going to cut it like we would any other meat, just into cubes about 1 by 1, a little bit smaller than 1 by 1. And start filling up our jars, and then we'll take it to the next step once we get this chicken cut up and our jars filled. In the meantime, we have our lids on the stove in a little pot there simmering and getting warm to ensure that we get a proper seal on the jar. So once we get this meat processed up and our jars filled, then we'll go to the next step. Okay guys, we're packing our jars. I just wanted to go over real quick. What I'm doing is called a raw pack, which is we're packing raw meat or raw vegetables. You can cooked meat. For instance, whenever I can hamburger, I always will brown my hamburger first before I can it. The only difference that I've noticed is whenever you're canning cooked meat, you want to add a little bit of liquid into your jar. Whenever you're canning raw meat, you don't need to add that extra liquid because see, there's the fat that's on the meat itself, which will cook out and create the broth and the juice inside your jars. So raw packing, this is how I do most of my meat, with the exception of hamburger. And like I said, I'm not any kind of expert at this. This is just how I do things. Can you season the meat? Probably, I guess. I don't know. I just add a little bit of salt, and then I will season it as we pull it out to use it. Unless I'm canning something that's already been cooked, and then if it's already been cooked, then it'll be seasoned while it's cooking. So what I do, just like packing any other jars, we'll pack it, and then we'll take a rubber spatula and run it around the edges. You want to try to get as much air bubble as you can. That's the reason why I cut my chunks of meat kind of small, so that way you can put more in to your jar, and there's less air space in there to allow any kind of contaminants to be in there. So once I have it packed in there, then I will add to this jar 1 teaspoon of just regular salt, not iodized salt, just a regular salt. That will act as a little bit more of a preservative. Just a teaspoon is fine. And then we will take our lid lifter. Actually, we're going to wipe the lid down first. I forgot about that. I'm going to wipe off the rim of the jar and the threads. That way you ensure that you don't have anything on the rim. Now we put on the lid, tighten it down with the ring, finger tight, and all the jars are now packed and ready to go into the canner. My canner will hold 7 quart jars at one time, so that's what we have, 7 jars of chicken. So we're ready to go into the canner. So give me 1 second to kind of clean up my little mess here, and then I'll see you at the canner. Okay, so we got our 7 jars now inside our canner. I'm using, for this canning today, I'm using my All-American canner because the quart jars come up to the top. If I was using my big, taller Presto canner, but still only canning 7 jars, it would take a little bit longer for the heat to build up and the pressure to build up. Using this extra space, I usually only use my taller canner whenever I'm doing pint jars, and I need to have them stacked on top of each other. So, a couple of things. The manufacturers recommend that you put 2 to 3 inches of water in the bottom. And as you put your jars in, you can see that the water will come up to just about the neck or so of the jar, and that's fine. You do not want to run your canners empty. Make sure you have enough water in your canner to where the whole process can go from start to finish without running out of water. I usually put at least 3 inches of water in mine, simply because if you run your canners dry and they run out of steam, then you can take a real big chance on damaging your canner and warping it, which will prevent it from sealing correctly and so on and so forth. So once you have your water in your canner, if you have hard water or a lot of chemicals in your water, you can add about a tablespoon or so of vinegar to your water. That'll help prevent your jars from getting cloudy with the water, soot, residue stuff. So now I'm ready to seal up my canner. This is an All-American canner. And before I put my lid on, I take a little bit of vegetable oil and run it around the rim. This is a trick that I learned from you, the viewers, on how to ensure that this canner seals it a little bit better so you don't have any steam leaks or pressure leaks. So all I do is I'll just take a towel with a little bit of vegetable oil, dab it on like that, and I'll just run it around the entire rim of the lid of my canner. Just like that, and that helps it make sure that it gets a good quality seal without any kind of pressure leaking out. Then I'll place my lid onto my canner, and then, like I mentioned in the first video, I'll try to make sure that it's as level as possible. And then I start at the ends like this, tighten those down, then I'll come around over here to this one, and I will tighten this one down, like the wheels, like the hubs on a wheel. Then I'll skip over to this one. Now I skip over here to this one. And then finally this last one here. What this does is it ensures that the pressure is put on the lid evenly from all the different directions so that you get a good seal on your canner. Then I just kind of go over each one again and make sure that they are finger tight and that the lid is down as far as it can go. Now I will turn my burner on. Notice I'm using a glass top burner. Yes, it is okay to use a glass top burner if you're careful. Don't be banging around because the can is very heavy, so you don't want to damage your cooktop. But this is what I use, this is what I have. As many of us do, we just use what we have. So now I'm going to turn my burner for this one here onto high and begin heating up the water. As soon as this water gets hot and starts boiling, it's going to start venting steam from this vent right here. And when we get to that point, then we'll show you what I do then. Okay guys, I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but there's now steam coming out of the vent here on top of the canner. And I'm sure you can hear that, so it's steaming really good. So we want to let that steam and vent for 10 minutes. And what that does is that ensures that there's no clogs or nothing that's going to prevent the steam from escaping properly once the weight is on. So I will let this steam exit for 10 minutes. And then we will put the weight on and go from there. I'll just set me a timer here for 10 minutes so that I can remember. Now in the meantime, this steam that's coming out of here will have a little bit of the vinegar in there as well if you put vinegar in your water. So you can just take your regular kitchen towel while you're letting it vent, catch some of that nice hot vinegar steam and use it to clean anything that you got around while you're waiting for your 10 minutes to be up. Here's another little tip of some things that I do. Makes really good for cleaning the kitchen hood and so on and so forth, because you can smell the vinegar in the steam. So I just wanted to share that with you, and we will see you in 10 minutes. Okay, so we've been venting for 10 minutes now, and now for our area of the country and our elevation, we use 10 pounds of pressure, which is on this weight here would be the number 10. There's a 5, a 10, and a 15 on this weight, and we are going to use a 10 pounds of pressure to process our meat. So, but you need to look at the manufacturer's recommendations for your area and your elevation to see what kind of pressure that you need to use and for how long. We're going to use 10 pounds for 90 minutes to do quart jars of meat. We carefully put the weight on where it's venting from, and that'll start producing steam and pressure inside. Remember, as the water boils, it releases energy in the form of steam that is going to be circulating inside and distributing the heat evenly inside the cook chamber. So when it hits 10 pounds of pressure, this weight will start to jiggle back and forth, to maintain that 10 pounds of pressure. Now for quart jars of meat, it's recommended that you do 90 minutes, and for pint jars of meat, it's about 75 minutes. So we're going to set our timer for 90 minutes. And we're going to let the canner do what the canner does. Now if you have a canner, a pressure canner, that doesn't have a weight or any kind of pressure regulation, then you'll need to stay in the kitchen, or stay near the kitchen anyway, and watch your pressure and adjust your heat accordingly. If you need more pressure and you want to put on more heat, if you have less pressure, then you want a little bit of less heat. So actually, this is going to build up pressure really quick. And once it hits the 10 pounds of pressure mark, that's when we'll start our 90-minute process. So now we've got the weight on, the pressure's building up. It doesn't take it very long, especially in one of these smaller canners. And once it hits 10 pounds of pressure, then we'll process it for 90 minutes. So I will see you, and it's already up to about 8 pounds of pressure. So I'm going to go ahead and start my timer because it's not going to be long. So we'll see you in 90 minutes. Okay guys, we are at our 90-minute mark now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off my burner, and then I'm going to use hot pads, of course, because this canner is screaming hot, man. This thing is about 453 bazillion degrees. I'm going to use my hot pads, and I'm going to very gently and carefully just slide it over off of the hot burner so that it can start cooling down. Some people say you can pull the weight off and just let the steam come out, and that may be true. I don't know. I've tried that one time, and I fractured 2 of my jars while doing it. Whenever you have a rapid release of all that pressure in there, I didn't have a good experience doing that. I'm not saying that it can't be done or there's not a right way to do it, because I don't know. Like I say, I'm not a cannerologist dude. I'm just a dude who cans. But what I'm going to do is I pull mine over to the cool side of the stove, and I'll just walk away and leave it. Just leave it set until their gauge reads 0 pressure, and it's a little bit cool around where you can put your hand close to the canner without burning the crap out of it. So now, that may take another hour or so, but that's okay because we got other stuff we can be doing in the meantime. So we're going to let this sit, and we'll see you guys in about, I don't know, an hour. Okay guys, the pressure says 0, and it's still pretty warm, but I can go ahead and handle it now without burning myself. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove the weight and set it aside. Then we're going to start undoing these lugs on the lid. Keeping in mind the whole time you want to be very careful about steam burns. So when you open your lid, you want to always open it away from you so that any steam that's still in there is going to escape away from you and not directly in your face, and you're burning your arms and whatnot. So now we just remove our jars and set them on a towel or a cloth. This is a cloth placemat. You can see that they're still bubbling. They're still extremely hot. That's everything finishing up the process of pressure canning. They'll bubble for a little while. I'm going to set them down on the outside here and let them continue to cool. And you'll hear those telltale popping signs of the jar sealing. And it'll be just like with water bath canning. Water bath canning, whenever you see that those lids are stuck down, then you know you've got a good seal. And again, I will store my jars whenever these are all cooled down. Then I'll label them, remove the rings, and store them in the pantry. But that will be the next video, which how we store our canned goods and our canned stuff. So I hope these videos are helping. Thanks for watching. This was the pressure canning video, and all you got to do on the last step is just let them cool and then put them away. So if I can do it, y'all can do it. It's easy. Thanks for watching. Have a great evening. God bless. In the end. Buzz, buzz. The end.